Welcome to the first webinar in our series of Recession Proofing Your Business, where we're going to take the common everyday elements that you have in your business and we'll start using them in uncommon ways to actually propel your business forward. Now, by propel, what I mean is increase your revenue while also eliminating the wasted time and money that sucks up the energy in your business. We'll do all of this while not overextending the budget. In fact, not only will we not overextend it, we're not even going to go outside of the budget that you currently have for these items. Today, we're going to be talking about retirement offerings. One of those very common elements, but how in the world do we actually use it to make it work for your business? I'm Dr. Cynthia Kalina-Kaminsky, President of Process and Strategy Solutions, and I'll be your host today as we guide you through different ways to make all these creative options work for you. I'll be joined today with Mr. Chris Shea, who is an advisor for Concord Wealth Management. He's going to be handling all of the business plans, as well as how companies at what maturity levels can do whatever it is that they need to do in order to get the right plan for them and their employees. What today all starts to center around is how in the world does having a corporate business retirement plan solidify my business? That's something that's off to the side. That's an option, and how do I get people to participate anyway? I give them the option when they hire in, or if I've changed the plan, everyone knows about it. They get all the required uh, announcements of any changes or what's going on with their plan at the end of the year. So should I even care? Well, the answer is yes. And throughout this next hour, we're going to be going through the exact reasons why you should care, because it is a way to move your business forward. But first, we have to look a little bit into, well, are people really worried about this? And if so, how much are they worried, and how much should we be worried? As I pulled research for the webinar, I found that nearly half of millennials worry about their own retirements. This is a very different way of looking at millennials. The typical stereotype being that, hey, they just are all about instant gratification. What can they get? They really don't have any planning abilities. But here, that stereotype is proved wrong. Millennials are currently contributing 10% of their income into retirement plans if they're participating. Gen X's, these are the 40 and 50-year-olds, they have a lot more pressures on their paychecks than the millennials, who are the 30s and late 20-year-olds. But they're still putting away about 8%, whereas baby boomers are putting away, on average, 10% if they're still in the workforce. So, we look at these numbers, 8%, 10%, sure, they could be putting more into those accounts, but isn't that good enough? Well, let's dive just a little bit deeper. 1/3 of Gen Xers have zero in their retirement accounts. Now, those pressures on their paychecks, that includes sending their kids to college and paying for the tuition. It also may include elder care. There's a lot that's being paid for out of the current paychecks. And that is contributing to this very low and zero retirement rate. Also, 45% of baby boomers have no retirement savings, and these are the people who are already in retirement or are rapidly approaching it. So together, we're starting to see something that's a bit concerning, but the majority still have retirement plans, the majority of baby boomers. However, again, as we look deeper, we find that only 20% or 28% have less than 100,000 in their retirement accounts. And when you consider the fact that retirees spend on average right now about 48,000, a little over that per year for their lifestyles, well, that 100,000 is only going to get them through 2 years of the necessary 20 or 30 years that it needs to cover, which means that Social Security here in the US is going to be stepping up to the plate and being the main source of income for retirees, not only for the current baby boomers, but also for those Gen Xers if we can't somehow figure out how in the world to get it so that it's easy for them to save for retirement without pushing together, constraining them is the word I'm looking for, constraining them on the short-term needs that their paycheck has to satisfy. And then longer term, do we have enough millennials participating? Well, let's take a look. But before then, notice on this slide, there's a lot of angst. There's angst in your employees because, yes, they're worried about the pay they receive right now, but they also know that tomorrow is coming and they may not be prepared for it. And that angst starts to express itself in the way they apply themselves to the job at hand in your business. It doesn't mean that they're not good employees. It means that they're concerned about things that are distracting them. So if we can provide something that eliminates that distraction, then we'll also be providing something that eliminates some of the angst. And that right there starts propelling the business. So here we are back to the idea though that I'm still stuck on the feeling that these retirement plans are a business benefit, and hey, I have a business plan to run. So are you telling me that all of a sudden I have to start this great big HR type push to get people engaged with the retirement plans at a higher rate? Yes, in a way, but we're going to do it in a very creative way, in ways that make it easy to participate. And as I said, it's not going to break the business piggy bank. For today, when we connect the benefits and the day-to-day business, we're going to go through 3 specific steps. And we've already taken a look at step number 1. Your talent wants long-term stability. Second, you need to have the right plan in place, and this is where Chris is going to take over. He's going to talk about those various plans and at what maturity level various things can be looked at by various companies. Once you get that right, then we need to know how to creatively integrate what you've got and usually just leave off as a benefit to the side, but now can pull it back front and center in your business and actually use it as an incentive to move everything forward. And for those of you who stay with us the entirety of this webinar, well, we have a thank you bonus for you. I'm Dr. Cynthia Kalina-Kaminsky, as I just mentioned, and for the past 18 plus years, I've been helping clients just like yours handle problems just like this. How do we propel our business forward? How do we, how do we engage our employees in ways that increases revenue, that pleases our customer base? What is the type of operational activity we need to be doing to make sure that everyone's satisfied all the time and we don't end up in just a big ball of frustrated chaos? Well, there's a big tool set full of things that can be used. One of those being SCORE, which is a very nice strategic alignment tool so that everyone's moving in the same direction in your business. And Process and Strategy is proud to be one of 4 approved SCORE providers and consultants in the US. But for those of you who want the flexibility of going in and doing these things perhaps on a smaller basis, bit by bit, but yet within a very rapid time frame, well, Process and Strategy has embedded that same high quality consulting inside their digital coursework, and you'll find it at essentialbusinessperformance.com. That strategy, that support and structure that you find allows us to talk about these additional elements that Chris is going to be highlighting today with his work on the retirement planning. He is an advisor for Concord Wealth Management, and he's a member of an association that specifically provides education about finances. He has helped top-tier banks across the globe improve their customer service, and as well, he's gone in and trained other wealth advisors, not just on what the plans are, but on how to customize them, not only to the individual, but to your business. And that's what he's bringing to us today. This is all done in partnership with the New Hampshire Business Guild, who is part of the sponsoring group of Recession Proofing Your Business. Flackery is their promotion, is their production. I'll get this right yet. It's a journal that they put out once every quarter, where New Hampshire businesses can figure out what other businesses inside of their own industries are doing as well as outside of their businesses so that you've got a broader idea of what's going on in the state. And then with the guild, you can talk one-on-one with other people in your business. So we're back to why in the world should we have a retirement plan available? Because if we don't have one, then the rest of the webinar isn't really very useful. So what is it that we have to think about? And there are formal ways of setting this up, but we need to know which plan is best for different circumstances. And Chris, I'm going to hand it over to you. You may want to make sure that your mute is off down in the lower left-hand corner.
Yes, it is. I believe it is. Excellent. Well, thank you, Cynthia. So we're just going to jump right into it. Cynthia, thank you for that wonderful introduction this afternoon or this morning. I don't know where everybody is. Thank you for taking time to join us today. The first question is basically, why do you want a retirement plan? 4 basic reasons. Number 1, obviously you can read the slide right there in front of you, reduces your business taxes. It helps your employees manage their personal retirement savings. And as Cynthia mentioned, that might not feel like it's the most important thing for you. However, one of the things that is a big concern for your employees is their money. What's in it for them? What's their benefit? Why are they working for you? It might be that they love to work there, but you have to compensate them and make sure that they're being adequately taken care of. And part of that is their retirement savings. And it is as a financial advisor, one of the things that I run into on a very frequent basis are people that say, I don't know where I am for retirement. Am I going to be okay? And that conversation always starts off with fear, trepidation, and concern on what their problem is. So the benefit for you as a business owner or as a business manager is how can you relieve that angst and get your employees to be more productive, right? The benefit also to your company is it enables you to recruit more. If you have a good retirement plan, people actually look at their benefits when they come in to look at you. And one of the big ones is what kind of retirement plan. You can reward, and then also you can retain your employees by that match. One of those things that holds people sometimes in position for a little bit longer, that vesting period on their corporate match. And finally, they can defer compensation based upon the plan that you might want to consider going into. So those are the 4 big reasons. And there's obviously got to be a benefit for this. So who benefits from this? The company benefits. Again, there's that tax deduction when you structure your retirement plan. Your employees benefit because you're going to be able to give them more of what they need in terms of their retirement savings, at least the beginning of a plan for that. And the business owners can benefit as well because they're also going to be saving on their taxes. So it's a win for all 3 groups to be able to put together a retirement plan that works for your company. So as we then move into the determination of where you want to be with your retirement plan, there's pretty much 5 factors that come into play. How big are you in terms of your revenue, your number of employees, your annual profits? Are you highly profitable or are you not very profitable because you've got expenses in various areas? And what stage of growth are you? Are you a high growth company where you're going to be going from 20 employees to 50 employees to 100 employees to 1,000 employees? Or are you a company that's got 50 to 100 employees and that's about where you're going to stay for the remainder of your time? Then you're going to probably want to consider a different plan. So all these factors come into play in terms of which plan is going to be the best for you. And like everything else in this world, there's no one size fits all. So there's got to be a conversation about that with a good person who's going to be able to help you with that. So with those things, there are 2 types of retirement plans that are in existence. One of them you'll refer to as a defined benefit plan. This is what you commonly know as a pension plan. And these are not very popular anymore for a couple reasons that we're going to walk through pretty quickly here. The pros on this, everyone knows the formula, and the employee is going to get their benefit in the long term. When they leave the company, they're going to have a defined benefit on a monthly basis that they get. The big reason why these are no longer in vogue is the cons, right? As the employer, you assume all the investment and planning risks, which means if there's poor returns or faulty assumptions, that can lead to a funding shortfall. And we've seen circumstances that have had companies have to default or refund or overfund to make up for where they've made mistakes. That's one of the big reasons why there's been a shift from the defined benefit plan to the defined contribution plan, which we're going to talk about now. So this is where an employee contributes a fixed amount or percentage to their paychecks. Pros, allows employees to invest in pre-tax dollars towards tax-deferred growth in their retirement account. They can receive a matching contribution, which, as we mentioned earlier, that contribution is usually tax deductible for the business, giving you a business benefit to entice your employees to have that contribution. You can have automatic enrollment, automatic increases. There are hardship withdrawals, and there are catch-up provisions for those employees that are 50 and older. So if they are behind, they can, as Cynthia mentioned, as the kids go off to college and they no longer have that college expense, they may be able to catch up in order to be able to get themselves into retirement in time. So there's a lot of pros to the defined contribution plan. However, with every pro, there is a con. And this is usually where the employees have to take on the risk. They may not be financially savvy. In fact, studies show that most people are not financially savvy when it comes to putting away enough money. They will not put enough money away on a regular basis. Why is that? Essentially, you have buckets in your life, right? You've got the important bucket, and then you've got the critical bucket. The critical bucket is the washing machine broke, the refrigerator broke at home. Something broke and we have to pay for it. So what happens? You decide not to put money away. You decide not to save because you have to take care of what's critical and in front of you. And so we find that people don't put enough away. And then at the end, once they start to get close to retirement age, employees all of a sudden realize, and they wake up when they're 55, 60, 65, that they don't have enough funds to last through retirement. As Cynthia mentioned, 8% have less than $100,000. Obviously, that's not going to get people through. So, with that in mind, there are a number of types of things. There's a SEP, simple profit share. The SEP is a self-employment plan. Most of you need that. Need either. That is.
Chris, I'm losing you.
Multiple.
You're going in and out, Chris.
Where second. Back.
Chris, I've lost you. Sorry about that. We've been having trouble up here in the Northeast with our connections and our networking. So we seem to have temporarily lost him. What we'll do is we'll come back as soon as he can get back online. Back? Hello, are you back? Excellent. We missed almost everything on this slide.
Yeah. Fantastic. So I'll start again then.
Okay.
There are 5 basic categories here for the types of plans. And a couple of them we're going to, if you've got a company with a number of people, which most of everyone on this called Should Have. The SEP is a self-employment plan. Pretty much if you're a solo practitioner, that's what you're going to want to use, or a solo 401k. So those are two options that probably aren't going to be leveraged by companies with employees that are looking to grow. So you're going to fall in the middle. It's either the simple, the profit sharing plan, or the 401k. The 401k is what everyone is in most companies familiar with. It's got its name from a tax code that created it back in the 70s. And essentially what it says is the employee can shift the burden of planning for their retirement to the individuals if they set up a plan by which they can invest, and they do that. So you can have this set up with multiple options in terms of what the employees have to invest in, and you can set up different levels of distributions from the company in terms of matches towards that to encourage your employees to take advantage of that. The simple plan is an IRA that can also be set up. It's for small businesses, usually with less than 100 people in them. And this is an IRA, so it is 100% vested with the employees once they get the money. This is one reason why businesses tend not to want to go this way if they have a certain size, because with a 401k, you can have a vesting period that says you've got to stay with us for a year to be able to get the money. With a simple plan, you put the money in there for the employee, and they can leave the next day, and it is 100% there. Then there are various profit sharing plans where when you get into a situation where you have good profits in your company, you can reward different employees at different levels with compensation for great performance. So that's a very high level on all these plans because they do get very technical and in terms of the actual implementation. And this is where you'd want to have specifics about your business come into play in the conversation. So how do you offset the risks of the defined contribution plans? Number one, just like everything else in life, when it's very important to you, you spend a little bit of time to shop around for a plan provider. Don't automatically assume that the first person you talk to has the best plan out there. There are plan providers that are big companies, and there are plan providers that are small individual brokers for these plans that can set up and then shop out for you in addition to that. So you can have someone shopping for you, kind of like your own personal buyer. It's a good idea to check both because some people will have good relationships with certain plan providers and some people will have better relationships with other ones. The second thing for defined contribution plan is you want to create an educational plan for your employees. This goes beyond setting it up with your HR person to say, this is what most people do on average, right? Because as Cynthia mentioned at the beginning, if you look at the numbers, on average, most people are not doing enough savings to make it through to retirement. The statistic on what you should be saving on your pay is 15%. I didn't see Cynthia's stats show 15% savings for anyone. 10, 8, those are the numbers there. So what most people are doing is usually not enough. An educational plan can be done through a number of different ways. One of them is the organization I am associated with, the Association for Financial Educators. Go in and there's 100+ presentations that can be done on everything from how to set up a budget through how to plan for your retirement account, which in this case would be. And then there are even other ones where you can actually have your employees be shown in your company presentations on how to do estate planning and things like that. So create this educational plan for your starting employees that have been there for a while, and then employees that have been there for ever if you've had 20+ more years. And then you can also offer up as another way have an individual financial planner, financial advisor come in and sit in your office for a day and have employees come through on a 1 hour basis and just talk about a plan. This is a very inexpensive way because most financial advisors will take this as an opportunity to meet with people, set it up, have them come in, have the conversations, build it in, and you've got a benefit for your employees that doesn't cost you anything other than an hour of time, which if you look at it and they get the relief from their financial concerns in exchange for this hour, you're probably going to gain that time back in better productivity. So these are 3 good ideas to offset your risk for the defined contribution. And
okay, so we do have time for one question. For those of you who are on, if you're on your cell phone and well, I don't want you driving and unmuting your cell phone, but if you're pulled over but in the car, then you can unmute your cell phone, or if you're online here, go down into the lower left-hand side and there's a red slash across the microphone. And if no one has questions here, I'll read one that I received via email. Let's wait just a couple seconds. Okay, this question is from Don. I received it, and he writes, I've been told I have to bring in outside expertise to tell my employees about our new retirement plan. How much will this cost, and what does someone outside my company add that my HR person cannot?
so the cost is usually built into the fee structure by which the plan already has in place. So it's not going to cost you anything additional. And one of the things that your HR person can't actually do is give investment advice. They're not a registered investment advisor. They can't tell the person, this is what you should do, which is why when I stated earlier, the HR person will say, this is what people do on average, because that's all they can say is this is what the general populace does. So bringing in a professional who is managing the plan, part of their compensation is already factored into that first couple of meetings to give an update. And usually they're going to have to give updates on a regular basis to be able to maintain that relationship. Additionally, you absolutely want to be able to have someone who comes in with some financial acumen, because the HR person will take some of that, won't take on the risk associated with providing that advice. Furthermore, if you do this, you're going to take the risk of educating your employees off of your plate as a business owner and put it onto the employee and put it onto that third party. So it's going to give you a benefit of having you be able to sleep a little bit better at night.
Thank you.
Certainly.
So now that you have a plan, what can you do with it? And you've heard some of the great things that they allow you to put in as a foundational set of pieces. But I need to know not only what I can do with it, but if I'm going to do something with it, what's that going to do for me as the business owner? In other words, is my business going to benefit? And I'm here to give you a resounding yes, it is. You have all of these happy employees looking at you. They love what it is that they do in your company. They're excited to be here, but they're looking toward you to find out what you can do to help assure that their future is going to be just as enjoyable as their current work with you is. One of the things I want to let you know up front is that I am not an attorney, nor am I a retirement expert. Once we go through these different options, you're going to need to talk with one of those experts, either the legal expert or your financial advisor, on what is acceptable within the plan, the way you've customized some of these options, and also what's allowable as per state and federal laws. But there's some really exciting stuff that you can do with this that I haven't usually seen. In some cases, I do have businesses and examples from them on what they've successfully done, but on others, there's ways that we can use them that we haven't tapped into yet. And part of it, that linkage between the benefit and the ability to actually start to promote and move our business with it, is to attach that benefit to the stretch goal. So as we're moving on an initiative, we want something new, some new capacity, capability, or an offering to be launched in our business. There's something that will meet the goals, and then there's activity that will actually get us so much farther. Those are the stretch goals. Well, if we make the stretch goals, especially in larger companies, oftentimes the people on the project team responsible for making it so, they get spot bonuses, which is usually a cash award. Well, what if instead of 100% cash award, you divide it into two, and half is a short-term cash award and half is contribution into the retirement fund, the individual's retirement fund. If you save the award of the performance for that once a year performance overview that you have with all of your employees, again, usually there's some amount tacked on, maybe an extra % or two for achieving these stretch goals. If they're achieved at that meeting, again, what if half of it's given to them in a bump in pay and half into that retirement savings account? Because now we're looking at both short-term and long-term and helping our employees understand that we're always there in both regards. As we look at some more of the data surrounding all of this retirement, 12% of Gen Z, now these are the guys who are just entering the workforce. So they're in their early 20s if they're already in the workforce. 12% of them are already saving for retirement, some of them before they ever get into the workforce. They're doing odd jobs, etc. And that compares to 34% of millennials. So before, when we saw that 10% rate of savings for millennials, only 34% are engaged in that. Now, 35% of Gen Z plans to save for retirement starting in their 20s versus 12%. Now, we know the millennials are already in their 30s, so there may only be 12% left. So it's good. 100% of maybe what's left is going to contribute, but there are gaps here. What can we do to close the gaps? One of the things is to choose part of your plan that has no minimum opening amounts required. I am the parent of 2 millennials, and it took years for my millennials to be able to open up a retirement account because what they had available to them was something that cost $2,500 up front, and they were paying for school loans. They were paying to start their life. They just didn't have that chunk of money, but they really wanted to save a small amount every single month. And we can eliminate that problem if we choose part of our retirement account to not even need an opening amount required. Another thing we could do, if we can't have that option put into the retirement package that we've chosen for our business, we can go ahead and, as part of the sign-on bonus for hiring in, we could actually open the account for them. Or perhaps that's the whole retirement account or sign-on bonus. The thing is, if you offer this, you're going to want to offer it so that it can't be considered discriminatory. This person got it, but that person did not. You want to check this out legally to make sure that the way you're offering it is going to provide the benefit while also not giving you some additional headaches. But if you open up the account as they sign on, then that opens up a lot more of the options that you can immediately put in play without having to worry, is this person already contributing or do they participate in the retirement option at all? As we start to look at some of those additional pieces, We need to look at a few more stats. Now, millennials are saying that at the 50% point, in other words, 50% of millennials, they're strongly sure that they're going to stay with a company for at least the next year. Ouch. That means 50% of them may be leaving in a year and you're going to have to require. But hey, maybe you only have a small amount of millennials who are hired anyway, so it's not really going to hurt. Let's look at the rest of the people who are employed. Well, 60% of them say they're going to stay, but that leaves 40% who may also be looking, which means you may be having to hire new talent to replace 40% of your workforce within a year. That is just an unattainable goal, especially with the talent scarcity that we currently have. Plus, you just can't handle that much churn in your workforce. So how in the world do we get more of these people, whether they're millennials or there's some other demographic, how do we get them to stay with us longer so that we can really build as a company? And one of the ways we do that is to eliminate the proverbial gold watch that people used to get when they were with a company for 25 years. What if instead, on their anniversary, we contribute to their retirement account from the company point of view? So you can do this in different ways. Everyone could get the same amount when their anniversary comes up. Once again, that makes it even Steven. No one can complain. You can change it according to the amount of years they've had. So the longer you've been here, the more you would gain from us each year. Or you could have one of the two of those options with some sort of bump on the special years, the 5-year and the 10-year, because not a lot of people stay with companies for 5 or 10 years anymore. But perhaps that would be a benefit for you. You wouldn't lose those critical skill sets. If so, then you're starting to make it difficult for employees to leave because there's benefit above and beyond just the paycheck and the enjoyment of the work that they're doing to staying with you. As we're creating those barriers to leave, we can put in a few more things. So it's not just one or the other of these options. You can pick and choose what feels right for your business. You can automate the retirement savings, just as Chris mentioned. So when they come on board, you can say, hey, you're automatically enrolled in our retirement savings account. You may also be able to state that a certain amount will be taken out of the pay. Again, check with your legal and your retirement advisor. But there are some other things that you can do to assure that they're actually starting right away. But any way that you can get them in and moving, now you've got the retirement account open so that we can actually use some of the upcoming options. One of the things that you can do with this automation is every so often, you already have to put out notices. This is where your retirement account stands. How about if you put in a big red button that says invest more here? It's a clickable button that brings up a page. Now this has to be secure. So you're going to have either your IT company or perhaps the retirement account manager themselves, whoever that retirement fund or whatever it is, the management is through, provide the security and the information that goes across this piece, because you'll be saying, how much do you want to contribute? And you type it in. This is what it'll do for the amount that's withheld from your pay. Here's how much you'll take home. Do you agree? Click yes. Pretty simple. So we want to make the investing and the automation as simple as possible. Conversely, we want to make the opt-outs as difficult as possible. No more automation here. They have to go onto the website portal and they have to download the papers and they have to fill them all out. And a lot of them are sort of like the healthcare forms where you have to repeatedly write in the exact same stuff. And then you may have to go and sit with HR and perhaps even an retirement plan representative so that they understand what it is that they're going to lose out for over time. Very painful. And most employees have no time to spare. It just becomes too difficult. It's easier just to stay in. Many companies provide a corporate match. 3% is pretty common. So as soon as they invest $1, then every dollar up to a certain amount is matched 100%. So it's free money. But what if we change that up a bit? In order to spur on additional savings, what if we don't give them the corporate match right away? What if instead of starting from $1 to, let's just say, for example, $100, we move that up so they don't get the match until they contribute $50 up to $150. It's the same one-for-one, 100% match, but now they have to invest the first $49 in order to get into that contribution area. And companies have used this quite successfully, and it does help people start to understand what is really possible, not just the simpler gaming piece of $1 up to dollar here is what I need to invest in order to get the match. Add to this that you can conduct an annual savings campaign. Now, a savings campaign is just like the charity campaigns, where you're trying to raise money for a good cause. Either people are going to go out and they're going to walk a bunch of miles, or you're going to donate out of your paycheck, or some other collection methodology is being used. In this case, you're going to be sending personal alerts. But since those alerts contain individual information about an individual's retirement account, again, you have to make sure that the correct information is sent to the correct person in a safe manner. And so you're going to want to talk to the account manager about how that can work. Here's what Microsoft did. They sent out statements similar to this. Did you know you were missing out on $182 per paycheck by not contributing to the retirement plan? Now, $182 is a lot of money for someone who is at an entry-level position. If they can afford it, that's great. If they can't, once again, you've got that big save more now, but it gives them options on how much they want to increase it. They may not be able to afford the whole 182. As you're in a campaign, you're able to send multiple messages that talk about different aspects, because not every person who's saving for retirement is saving for the same reason. So what if we talk about, hey, did you know that you've saved $26 so far for your retirement plan? But at $50, we start matching one-for-one, and you will get a 100% match for that $50 up to the 150. So would you like to start saving more now? Big red button, click, and go in and start doing that. This has been found to be very successful, but again, it has to be done in a very secure manner. We can also increase the plan saving contribution limits. So here I was, my plan had $100 where I was matching 100%. But if I want to spur on additional savings by my employees without spending more money myself, what I can do is, instead of having the plan limits go from $50 to $150, I can stretch it all the way up to $250. But it's no longer a one-for-one match. It's a 50% match. So as the employer, I'm spending the same amount of money, but I'm stretching it over more dollars. The game being, in order to get all the dollars available, you have to contribute to your retirement this additional amount of money. That allows us to stay inside of the budget that we have as a business, while also getting our employees to contribute more to their long-term livelihood. The final two pieces, options that I want to go through with you before we go into the closing elements of our webinar, is that you can limit the number of loans that can be taken out of a 401k. A 401k being much more flexible than a lot of other types of accounts. You have a lower interest rates if they borrow money from themselves. And of course, they have to pay it back. And the problem is they miss any growth during that period. Plus, you're assuming, or we're assuming, that they have the discipline to not just take it all out for things that probably they should have waited until they could have saved up their paycheck money for. What I would actually look at doing is not limiting the number of loans, but limiting the percentage of the account that can be taken out on loans. This, again, has to be gone through with your advisors, and it has to be talked over with the employee. And one of the things you can get them to do to buy in and to start thinking in specific ways is to get written commitments, which other companies have found work. This one states, I will save so much of my paycheck for retirement. And they find that the mere act of writing it down means that it's more probable that they will actually do that. You can also include with your conversation about how you want the account to be run, I will not allow loans over 5% of the total amount of the account to be taken out of my 401k, and not loans individually, but cumulatively. Somehow that can be then attached to the supervision of the loan, whether it's at the management or through HR, or the fact that when that uh, request for taking something out, it raises a red flag somehow. However it needs to be done, they've put their limit on it and they've agreed to it. Now, there are always circumstances in life where that limit may have to be exceeded, and that's when you talk to HR and the account manager. But for the most part, you're helping them develop a discipline of how to save and spend their money so that they are able to look over their entire lifespan without a lot of additional angst. So at this point, again, I'm going to open it up for a question. We're running a little bit tight on time because of the network problems, but if you have one, I'll take it now, or I do have one from email. Just remember to unmute yourself down on the left-hand side. Right, I did receive an email from Sharon. She was reading some of the articles that I've posted in LinkedIn that captured some of these ideas and started to look at them from different business perspectives. In the article posted on LinkedIn about climate change, I'm not seeing the link into retirement accounts beyond the investment funds. Is there more that we can do? And the answer is yes. We talked about way back when I was talking about process and strategy, some of those strategic structural ways that you can actually embed into your business things that will help propel you forward to increase revenue and eliminate waste. Climate change metrics are part of that structure. And so as you're embedding climate change metrics into your day-to-day as well as your initiatives, you're automatically starting to build toward something that's more than just only your business, but it does benefit the business. At the same time, you're going to have stretch goals for them. So we're back to that very first option where you're taking your initiatives, you're embedding some of that retirement contribution from the company that looks like free money from the employee, but they really did work for it. And in their work, they enabled your company to move forward. As a thank you for staying with us, Chris is offering a 1-hour complimentary session available through October 31st, where you can talk over the retirement plans that you need or the retirement plans that you have, and talk about the different options and how you can fine-tune them for wherever you're at right now in your business. And as a thank you, and please know that I am honored to have you present on this webinar, sharing your time with us as we go through these. My thank you is a 30-minute strategic success session. Yeah, try saying that fast 3 times in a row. We'll be looking at not only the options that you can embed, but what are some of the roadblocks that are getting in your way and how can you eliminate them? What are some of the ways you can incorporate some of the options that you feel you can choose, but you're not quite sure how to embed them? So go ahead and send me an email at success@processstrategysolutions.com, and I'll be happy to talk with you. Until then, thank you so much for attending. Know that we have the rest in this series of webinars coming up starting in October, where we'll be talking more about people. I want to thank you, Chris Shea, for being our guest speaker today. He is with Concord Wealth Management and as your host. I thank you. I hope you have a profitable business week, and I look forward to seeing you and talking with you in the future. Have a great week.